Hello everybody, my name is Michel Cambron. I want to give you a quick demo on ProjeQtOr. ProjeQtOr is a very complete tool, has amazing functionalities. So if you're a business analyst, for instance, you could use the requirements management functionalities. You can do your configuration management for your components in your different versions. You can also do all your ticketing reporting, or if you're more into project management, you can do everything from resource planning, activities, Gantt charts. You can do your risk management. You can do your costs for your suppliers, your materials. You also can do the management of all your bids that you submitted to your customers and so forth. So as ProjeQtOr is a very powerful tool. It's a collaborative based tool, meaning that you can have, as soon as you have an internet connection, you can access ProjeQtOr from anywhere on the planet. It's also you can create different profiles, and each profile will have a certain number of rights, and all that is completely configurable. So let's enter I have an access here to a database, and here I'm accessing as a project lead. So when I just put in my username and my password, I click enter. And then when you come into the home page, what you can see is you always come up with your personal page. So these are all the projects that you have access to. So you can see here there's only two projects. Here we see, for instance, a project test, and there's only two activities to be done, and nothing done, nothing closed. So you sort of get a overview of all the activities that are going on in the projects, and then you can look at what are the tasks that have been assigned to me. This kind of neat. So when you open up, you can look at, well, what are my tasks I have to do. You can go into what I'm responsible for, what I'm accountable for, what the tasks I've been requested, and so forth. So this is kind of neat. Note that here we have all the different icons that we can access, and there's a fair amount even for the project leader. Obviously, if you're the project administrator, you see all of them, and it's very overwhelming because you see all the functionalities of ProjeQtOr. But there's ways to scale that down, and you can tailor it. So here, what I did is I have my custom menu. So here, what I have, I just going to look at the 5 icons. So let's go into the planning. So when you get into planning, you're falling into the Gantt chart. So let's create a project. So we're going to create a project. Okay. Now, the other thing we're going to do before we continue, we're going to give us a little bit more real estate so we can work. So we're going to just go full screen. Okay. Now we see more. So we're going to call this project demo. I'm just going to make sure that there's a sub-project here, sub-project of projects. Okay, so now we see it up here. So this is very interesting because we can create multiple levels of project, and it gives us a way to organize our portfolio inside the organization. So we can have a different bunch of projects, and then we can have a resource pool that supports all these projects across our portfolio. So here, just to give us a little more real estate, what we'll do is we're just going to select our demo project. Okay, that's what we see. So let's start. Now we've defined a project. One thing that we need to define is we need to define some resources. So we can go into the resource and we can say we're going to add resources. So we're going to go and get some resources. So here, in this instance here, Porthos has access to visibility on all the resources, but that could be controlled. So here, we're going to go and get Albert. Albert is a project member. Okay. And then we can go and get another resource. We're going to call, let's see, we're going to go and get Bob. And we're going to put Bob as, we're going to assign him as a project member. So these are all the different profiles that we can define, and each of these profiles have different rights. So here we're going to give the right of a project member. Okay, so now we have our resources. Okay, so now we can start. Yes, put in some activities. Create. So we're going to go and create an activity. And let's say we're going to create 3 activities. We're going to call the first one design. We're going to, the second one, manufacture. And the third one is called this test. So now we have our 3 activities. Okay. Now what we need to do is we need a couple of things we need to do. First thing is to look at who's going to work on these activities and what what is the effort. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into progress, and we're going to add a resource. So clicking here, look at the resources, and now we can now select from the 3 resources that have been identified at the project level. So let's say we're going to take Albert, and we're going to say Albert is going to work, let's say 20 hours. Okay. And we're also going to say that the planning mode, we have different planning modes. It could be as soon as possible. It could be works together with another resource. It could be fixed duration. Could be could be regular between dates. It could be full days, half days, quarter days. So these are all interesting planning modes that we can take. So we're going to take fixed duration, and we're going to say, well, this is going to be, let's say, 15 days. I'm going to save this. Okay. Notice now that the bar is green versus a light green here. Light green means there's an activity been scheduled, but there's no resources. Here we see resources been assigned to this activity. So let's go to the manufacture. So we're going to go and assign a resource. Okay, so here we're going to say resource. We're going to go and get let's say we go and get Bob, and we're going to assume that Bob is going to work 20 hours. And then go for the test. We're going to assume that we'll get Portos involved in here. Portos is going to work and assume that he's going to do 10 hours. And that we're also going to get the help of Albert. And Albert is going to work 10 hours. So now we have our resources. The other thing we have to determine is obviously the dependencies to get the sequencing of these activities correct. So obviously we do the design before we do the manufacture. So we just click and drag, and we add a link to Bob. And then we click and drag for Portos. Okay, now we see that one activity has been moved and the other one has not been moved yet. What we need to do is to ask ProjeQtOr to do planning. So we click here to calculate the capacity planning, and we'll just ask it for this demo. And this is kind of interesting because we can ask what date you want it. Do you want to do it as of the 1st of July, 6th of July, the 13th, or you can even do it in advance. You can do it as of the 20th. So this is kind of a neat feature. So we're going to just leave it as the 13th. We'll do OK. And now we see that all the tasks have been positioned properly in the Gantt chart, and depending on the resource availability. Now if I look at here, if I do a right click here, I'm going to see the graphs for the resource loading of Portos and Albert that are going to appear. Now, let's continue. Let's add some milestones. So, milestone will start. Okay, we'll add another one for, let's add another one for finish. Okay, so now we just need to sort it out. The start should be on top, so that's easy to do. We'll just take this and we'll just grab it to put it on top. We'll just add our dependencies. Okay, and then we have another one for the end after this activity here. Okay, that's done. The other thing we like to add is, yes, add a meeting. Okay, so we're going to go and put a meeting. Assume that as a project review, and you say that's gonna meeting is gonna go. Just put this. Let's say right here on the 4th of August. We're gonna say it's gonna go from 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock. Okay. Then we're going to. Okay. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna go and invite people. Okay. So we're gonna get our attendees, or either we can add the attendees, or we just click here to assign the whole team. So here, in this case here, the team is Albert, Bob, and Portos. So we just assign the whole team. Okay, so the whole team is up. And note that they've already been assigned 2 hours. And note that when they're going to open up their time sheets, they're going to see this meeting, and they're going to see that there's been 2 hours that have been allocated. So I'm going to save that. Come back here. What's interesting now is we can send an invitation. So if we send an email, if we click here, there's going to be an email. It's going to be sent to everybody, and then that person will be able to save that in their calendar. Now the only thing that we're missing is, let's say, one more activity. We're going to put an activity that is a level of effort. So we're going to put we're going to go and insert an activity. An activity here is called this project management PM task, and we're going to we're going to assume that that's going to be Portus. That's going to be sort of supervising the work on let's say 1 hour per day. So we're going to go and get resource. We're going to go and get Portos. And we're going to assume here that is a recurring activity. Okay, so here we just have to, okay, now we can input this, let's say 1 hour per day. Okay, we're going to say, okay, it's per day, so we'll just copy all these. Okay, now what we need to do is, normally this is a level effort, so this activity is going to span out the duration of the project. So what I need to do is I need to calculate it. I'm just going to calculate it. And now notice that the activity has been expanded to the complete duration of the project. Okay, the other thing we'll just do is we'll just move this up, and here we are. So here we have our project management activity, then we have all of our activities that are going to be done by Albert, Bob, and Portos. So this is our schedule. So what we need to do, just to finish up before we can start, there's a couple of things we need to do. The first thing we need to do is we need to establish our dates, our baseline dates. So what we're going to do is we're going to validate. Okay, so we're going to say that we have our dates have been validated, meaning that once we go into execution, as soon as if some of the dates start moving out, the bar is going to change from green to red, meaning that there are some activities that are late, or if we have some activities that are going to be done in advance, it's also going to remain green. Then the last thing we could do is we can always put a baseline. So what we're going to do is we're going to save a baseline. Okay, let's call this baseline B1. Okay. Now we can show the baseline. So you say we want to show the baseline at the bottom, and here we see our baseline that has started. So now we're in a position where we can start our project. So this quick little video. The only thing I want to show you is it's pretty easy to come up with a schedule and to man load it with resources. And just to finish off, one thing we can look at is we can look at the resource planning. We go here and we see for each of our resources, Albert, Bob, and Portos, we see all the tasks have been assigned. And we see too. Now this is interesting. Obviously, if you're in a multi-project or you have a complete portfolio, you can see for each of the resources, you can see all the tasks that have been assigned to all the projects. Okay, so this was a quick little demo. So I just hope that this demo is going to help you out understand some of the power of a ProjeQtOr and that it's an easy tool to use. So have a good day.